In today's episode, Lauren asks, if you were going to advise a podcaster to spend $15,000 on advertising, how should they spend it? Well, it depends. It depends on who your audience is, right? Do you know who your audience is? And more importantly, do you know if there is more audience out there that fits the profile of the people who want to tune into your show? Once you know that, then you can figure out where you need to advertise, because that answer will dictate what you spend your money on. So, for example, if I wanted to spend money to reach independent authors, I might sponsor some authors on Archive of Our Own, the fan fiction writing site. Right? If my audience were people who were real estate agents, I might go and spend some money on advertising directly to real estate offices, just geo-targeting them, or doing some guerrilla marketing on real estate ads, right? I might hire a virtual assistant to help me with that. If my audience was medical doctors, I might spend $15,000 on mail drops, perhaps to medical offices, or provide some kind of service that they could offer to their clientele. Advertising and marketing spend really is going to be contingent on who the audience is. The easy answer that everyone's looking for is, just spend it on Facebook or spend it on LinkedIn or whatever. But the reality is that podcasting's very nature is that it is a very intimate medium, right? It is a very intimate medium, and the shows are very niche, or should be very niche, about specific topics, which means that our audiences are going to be in very specific places as well. And those specific places may not be the mainstream, right? Yeah, it's easy to swipe your credit card, put $15,000 in Google Ads, but that might not be where the audience is paying attention. You might find out from your audience that they listen to another show. You might sponsor some shows in that show, or sponsor some newsletters. If you find out, for example, your audience was really into medical data about COVID-19, you might sponsor Jeremy Faust's Substack, right? His newsletter. You have to do the audience research. You have to do the market research on your audience. I would say if you had $15,000, I'd spend $5,000 of it on market research and really dig in and really understand deeply who your audience is. I would say if you instead of spending $5,000 on market research, maybe you spend a couple of grand on some prizes, and then you say, hey, if you're a listener to my show, I want to spend 30 to 45 minutes on the phone with you in exchange for a $50 Amazon card or whatever. And then you dig in. You say, okay, well, where do you spend your time online? How do you find new shows? When you're in the mood to find a new podcast, how do you find it? Where do you get your recommendations from? Are there particular places online, or people, or groups? Is there a Discord server or a Slack group that you spend a lot of time in? You want to get to know your audience in general. I mean, it's a great way to make a better show. But if you're going to spend money to reach people, you want, A, the biggest bang for the buck, and B, the most targeted bang for the buck, where you can spend and be remembered, right? If I drop $15,000 on Google Ads, take a moment and think. Close your eyes. What was the last Google ad you saw? I have no idea, right? I see Google ads all the time on my phone. I couldn't tell you what they were. I can't tell you right now an advertiser that I saw on Facebook or Instagram. My brain just literally filters them out. I can't tell you what the last pre-roll ad I saw on YouTube was. I can't remember any of that. Nothing. Zero. What do I remember? I was at a conference recently. I do remember the couple of companies that were headline sponsors, right? That they supported the community. When I go into a specific Slack or Discord group, that is run by a group, there are sponsors, it's funded by an organization. I remember who that organization is because they're providing me a service for free. So, where is your audience? Where do they get their information? Where do they spend their time? Where do they get their recommendations? Who do they ask for advice? Right. Particularly if you're doing it for business, if it's around a business of some kind, dig in. What other shows do they listen to? What newsletters do they read? What books do they read? One of the best marketing channels I have from my personal newsletter and shows is in a book, and it's not my book, right? Do I have it down here? I think my copy is upstairs. I think my kid is borrowing it. But a book called Everybody Writes by Ann Handley. I have gotten hundreds of newsletter signups and podcast subscriptions over the years from that book because people read about my newsletter in Ann's book. And if I had 15 grand, I would sponsor version 2, right? Because Ann's coming out with a new version of it this fall. If I had 15 grand to spend, I would spend it on Ann's book because it generates results consistently over time. So that's the answer. Know your audience. Know your customer. Who are they? Where do they spend their time? What are their interests? You might find what Larry Kim from Mobile Monkey calls a double unicorn, right? Where your audience has something that is unique about them across a couple of different channels. For example, he was advertising using targeting a percentage of his audience happened to be very liberal politically and also really liked the TV show Deep Space Nine. So he created some advertisements that were very niche. Like if you knew, you knew what he was referring to. If you didn't, if you weren't a fan of the show and you weren't of that political orientation, the ads just kind of bounced off of you. You didn't remember them. So even something like that, if you're going to use mainstream advertising, there are ways to create creative that are tailored to the audience that you have. But you've got to find that out. And it's really difficult. It's a lot of work. It takes a long time to do it right, and it can be expensive. But nothing else will get you the bang for the buck that really good market research will. So really good question. Thanks for asking. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.